Okay. So start again. We go to the top view. We select on our object. When we type in rotate, we rotate the object. What you want to do, you want to rotate it from the center. So going on the midpoint, you select the midpoint. And then you rotate, you type in, depending on how is your object is positioned, you have, it's either -45 or 45. So you rotate it -45 or 45 degrees. After that, you want to go to right view. So you bring our object here, go to right view, and you type in shear. Select the left corner, and you select your reference point, and you type in -45. So what this does is going to rotate it again into -45 degrees. Then we go back to our top view. Then you have your plano view. Here's your plano view. I should have mentioned this earlier. What you want to do before changing your model, before turning your model into plano view, if you want to copy your model, there are like two different ways to do this. You can either just type in copy and just copy it in space, or you can hold Alt while dragging the object. So you select the object, you hold Alt, and you drag it. It just copies it for you. So I'm going to go to elevation oblique now. Go over elevation, how to do elevation oblique. I'm going to copy the instructions, and then I'll go over it with you. So for plan oblique, we go to our top view, like the plan oblique, type in a scale 1D, select your object, type in select scale 1D. You choose the far left corner, then you type in 0.705. Hit enter, and then it's asking you for the direction. You just choose the Y direction. After that, you want to type in shear. So again, you go to the left corner, select it. You select your reference point. Then you want to type in -45 or 45. Again, depends on the object position. Then we go to the right view. Just gonna drag this here. Type in shear. Select, and then -45. So you rotate it -45 again. And we go back to our top view. Here's our elevation oblique already. Is there any question for plan oblique or elevation oblique so far? Now feel free to interrupt me as I'm going over. Okay, I assume not. Okay, let's do some ISO. Right. So for the ISO, I guess you already know how to do it. You can go to the isometric. So you go here, goes to set view. You can choose what direction you want to look at your object. So I type in one southeast. So you watch again, if you want to zoom in your object, you can select your object first and type ZS. It just zooms into your object. So what you want to do from here, there are like different ways to approach this for the isometric drawing. Let me make a copy of it first. So for your ISO, once you make it 2D of your isometric drawing, what's your top view? Okay. You make it 2D. There are like two different ways to add outline to your object. One way is to select Sin Silhouette here. scene silhouette could be sometimes really tricky and doesn't really get the perfect outline. Let me show you how does it work. We go to our top view after. Oh, one sec. Yeah, there you go. And from the right side, here's our Make 2D, right? Here, this layer shows the scene silhouette, which is the outline. If you click right on the layer and go select object, you can see the scene silhouette doesn't really pick some of the parts. Some parts are actually missing, or some parts are not actually scene silhouette. So if that doesn't work for you, what you can do, you can go to your view. Let me go back to where we were before. You can go to your isometric. You can type in mesh outline. So type mesh outline. What it does, it gives you an outline of the object, of the selected object. Here's the outline, right? And you can clean it up. Sometimes it can pick some other outlines as well. And from here, you want to make 2D. One second, 2D. Click that. And then hit OK. Then we go to the top view. Yeah, here's the outline. You can basically just match it. You can type in move and select it from one corner and match it with one of the corners here. So you have the outline here. It's better if you put the outline on a different layer. So later you can just change the line weight, or you can manipulate it in Illustrator. So what I do, I just put it into from here. You can type in like on the bottom here, go to the section. Once you click, you can select what layer you want the outline to be. So it goes to the outline layer. After that, we can just export this. So what I usually do for exporting, let me move this stuff here. I usually make a page size on Rhino for better scale, just so I know how to work around it. So I'm going to type, let's see, 10 by 10. Let's say our page size is 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters, and you want to scale your object. So your scale, I guess, is like they're asking for you for like 110 or 120. You can just type in scale. Click on one corner, doesn't really matter. And scale your object down. This is pretty small, but just for the sake of representation, you can just bring your object into the middle, scale it down based on the page size. And then after exporting, I select the whole thing. Let's say this is the scaled version, by the way. You select the whole thing. You go to File, and you export selected. You select export selected. From here, you choose the format that you want to export it to. So here I choose Adobe Illustrator. Just give it a name. Here, you can change the scale. We already imagined that I scaled it down, so you don't really need to change the scale. But if you didn't change the scale, you can also change the scale from here. So if it's 1 centimeter, they're asking you for like 1 to 10 or 1 to 20, you can change it here. And you can change the here. Then I hit OK. And it's in the web desktop. What you want to do after that, you want to choose document setup, edit. Let me go over it again. It's quick. So in Illustrator, on the very top, you go to document setup, and you select edit artboard. So I'm changing the size to the page size that I'm going to print. You drag it down here and to here. Then type in enter and OK. So what I'm going to do now, I want to change the line weights. Remember, I've already let me change this. OK. We already have the outline. What I usually do, my line weights are pretty like low, like 0.1, 0.2, depend on your object or how do you want to approach it. Are you going to approach it, the line weights based on how close the object is to you, or do you want to approach it on a different way? Like you have just one line weight and you have an outline. I'll show you what I mean before I hit it. So I select the lines that I want to be in one line weight. Then I type enter. For the outline, remember we moved it to a different layer. So here is kind of useful. You can just select the layer and you go to the line weight on top here. For example, you type in, could be 0.35. And then I can select the color here. I change it to black and there it is. I have it's kind of thick right now. I guess I could change it to, you can change, you can play around with the line weights, whatever that works best for your object. Sometimes when you bring, so let's say you want to paint you want to add color to your object. Sometimes, is there any questions so far before I move on? Okay, all right. If you want to add color to your object, usually you have to go here, but it doesn't really work. What you have to do, you have to select your object. Usually I do a copy first before, doing anything. So let's make a copy out of this. Create a new layer here. And then copy it. Just hold, you can copy it by holding Alt and just dragging into a new layer. I turn off that layer. If anything happens, in future, anything goes wrong, we have it there. So I select the layer. I select the line weights. The lines. Then we go to object. Then you go to live weight. So I say it again. You select them. You select the lines. Go to object, live weight, then make. So right now, what you can do, see what happened to the line weight, to the outline. That's what I kind of saved it. You can go here and you can select whatever color that you want and just paint your shirt based on, it could be based on axis or it could be based on shadows. I have an example here for you. You can see like how I painted it. Like this one is kind of based on axis, like Z by X. Like they are different based on the colors. Okay, let's go back to Rhino. I can show you how to do an exploded axle. So let's bring our chair here. Just make a copy, hold Alt, drag it. Like I mentioned. So for making an exploded axle, it really depends on how your objects are, how's your furniture is connected together, and how do you want to show, how do you want to represent it, your object, like what's your argument? What I usually do, I go to, let me go to one sec. Select the object, I go to set view. I choose the isometric view. From here, you can kind of like give it a distance. It could be equal distance. It could be like the distances could be equal, or it could be different. You kind of like have to work around it to just kind of make it like symmetrical here. Kind of like everything is in proportion, So you move it around, you select the components that you want to choose, you want to show. For example, the handles are separate, the seat is separate. Bring this closer, and the back part, you want to show that in a different part. And after that, you can create guidelines for yourself. So you kind of have to show like, where does this part connect? Like, where does it connect to the furniture or to the seat side, to the seat section? I mean, to the seat part. What you can do, you can go back to the perspective, or you can draw it from here. It's better to go to the perspective. You have more freedom. So for the guidelines, guidelines, you can select. Let me go to. I choose a different layer usually, because what you want to do. Let me show you an example here. These guidelines are become dotted lines, so it's better to have them on separate layers. It's pretty easy. Like, where do you want to connect them? So as soon as you see perpendicular, just this is pretty basic. Or just connect it just connect the line where does the components connect. After that, you're gonna have such a drawing here. The process is similar to the previous process. You just make 2D. If you want outline, you can do outline. You can do mesh outline, or you can do scene silhouette. But here, just be careful. If you want outline, you have to kind of make outline separately, because if you do outline on the whole object, it's just going to create an outline of. It's going to consider this selection as a one object. So it's better to make an outline piece by piece. After that, you export it. You make 2D. You bring it to the Illustrator. So you remember I had the guidelines here. What you can do is pretty easy. You can just select them based on the layer here. Yeah, this was one layer before. But yeah, you select them. You can change the line weight up top here. And if you want to make them dash line, you can go here, select this part, stroke, and you check dash line. And what you can play around with these numbers to make what you desire, what you want to do for your dash lines. And I usually make them pretty light, and the opacity is pretty low. You don't really want to see it, but at the same time, you want to see it. Like, you don't want it to pop out, And you can also, what you can do, you can kind of like put all your components in one line and be like, add the measurements, for example, add like what are the components, how many of their that component is in your furniture. Moving on, I'm gonna show you how to kind of match your Arctic view to the make 2D that you have. So like in this case, you're gonna have like shadows and stuff. So what you want to do, there's a really good tutorial on this on ALD's YouTube. I'm just gonna share that with you. That's based on renders. Oh, give me one sec. Yeah. You can watch that later. That's kind of like a better approach on how to align your Arctic view to the drawing that you have. But that focuses on rendering. But right now, I'm going to show you how to do it based on just Arctic view on Rhino. So let's select this object here. We zoom in. Let me see, there's people coming in. Let me admit them. Okay. Yeah, we go to our isometric view. Set view, isometric, zoom in. Here I choose Arctic view. Then you can type in print just to print the Arctic view that you have. So I type in print. Here you want to choose Adobe PDF because you want a PDF file. Then you can choose the page size that you want to work with. Here I have the, just type in, I just select print. It's ask you where do you want to save it. I'll save it in, I guess, in desktop, just give it a name. You wait. And here we have our Arctic view. What you want to do, you want to go back to Illustrator to do your drawing. Then close this. You open your Arctic file on desktop. And I go here, select it. And bring it to here. So from here, you're gonna have to kind of play around with the layers. I usually put it on a different layer, and it has to go below the layer that the line bits are, the line drawings are. Then you start with a corner, and then you just scale it up. This process kind of takes time. As I mentioned, the YouTube video that I sent already, that's the fastest way to do it. So I'm not gonna spend really time just kind of aligning this. You see the end result here, how it goes. From here, you can also add material to your from here, you can add material to your object. What you can do, I set up a just basic cube on Rhino. I have a basic cube on Rhino. I exported it in PDF, like how I already did it for the chair. What you want to do, let me just bring it up. I might go over it again. Shade it. So if we just zoom in here, we go back to the set view, isometric. We zoom just ZS, it zooms in your object, zooms into your object. You can again go to Arctic view, and you can print it. Same process. I'm not going to go over it again. Then after you save it, you want to open it in 2 different files. What I usually do, I kind of want my materials to be in Photoshop and place that Photoshop file into Illustrator. So later I have more freedom to kind of play around with the material. I'll change the lighting, change the contrast, and it kind of automatically updates in Illustrator. So let me open the file. Here's our saved PDF file. I usually open it. I open it and I usually lock it here, so I don't really move it around. Then I open a same file on Photoshop just for guidance. What I do, I bring material. Like I already have a material saved. Let me see, right here. Just drag it to the file that you want to use. It's on a different layer. Oh, one thing to mention, you have to make sure that you lock your drawing. Just lock the layer from here. Lock the layer so you're not really moving around. what you want to do, you want to change, you kind of like want to align the material to the box that we have right now. So I type in Control T, brings up, this kind of like for changing the size. You have to hold Alt while, Command, Control or Command in Mac, while moving this corner, sort of align it with the box that we have right now. So I'm holding Control, and then dragging these corners into the positions that I want them to be. That should be good. Let me see. Quality is kind of not really perfect right now, but just have to find best qualities. Like once you type enter, it kind of gets better. So I already did this part, as you can see. So right now, what I want to do, I want to bring these materials into Illustrator. So I turn off the drawing on in the Photoshop. So when I place this Photoshop file into Illustrator, the drawing is not going to come with it. You know what I mean? And I'll save it. Then I go to my Illustrator file. I create a new layer from here. Create a new layer. Make sure there's layers selected. Then we go to File. And here you choose Place. So let me find the Photoshop file. Here's the Photoshop file. And you want to align it from the corner to the corner here. And then you type, then it brings the material, the Photoshop file into your Illustrator. So you can later kind of update your Photoshop file and without changing anything in Illustrator. So let me show you how does this work. You can just go to Photoshop. I can add in, for example, you can change it. I can change the brightness or the contrast. And then I turn off these layers again. I save it. Then once you go back to Illustrator, it gives you this prompt that the file has changed. You want to update it? You just click yes, and boom, it just updates it for you. Is there any questions so far? Okay, all right. Yeah, that's how this kind of placement of the Photoshop file into Illustrator works. You can kind of like change these in both programs while it updates. I usually like what I kind of want to see the shadows. Like the reason that I have the Arctic view is to have like these shadows here too, to show the shadows. So what you want to do, let me double check where it was. Oh, I think it was on top. Give 1 sec. So I can, change the layer opacity. The opacity is here. If you want to change the opacity, you can just, drag the opacity up and down to play around with the opacity. If you don't really like it to pop out, you can just choose opacity. Or you can also go to your Photoshop here and change the layer to, for example, multiply. Let me turn these on to show you how this works. How does this work? And I kind of, depending on your object, on your drawing, it's sort of like personal. You can choose whatever you want. Oh, I just saw your question. Can I get texture pictures? Is it just normal picture or we can choose? online. You can just take just different textures from and just find the high quality. What I usually do, I go to tools and I change pixels. Oh, there you go. Sadi just mentioned. Yeah, you can go to pixels. Let me try pixel. Picture, I guess I said. Yeah, you can just type in. Well, these are great. Yeah, you guys should visit this website if you get it for your a minimum size. It really depends on your scale of your object and how big is uh, your object. I usually, when I want to change the size, I usually go here. If I Google it, for example, I just I go to tools. I choose the large size just to have a better quality and better resolution. But this website is great. I think you can find kind of any texture that you want. Let's see, wood texture. Yeah, these are pretty good. Oh, what happened? Oh, I think I went to videos. Yeah, you can choose these textures and bring them to Photoshop, and then Photoshop them and just live update it into your Rhino file. Okay, let's see. This is kind of like an arrangement that I did for like your, you have to kind of unfold your room. Like I have to, I guess that's what the assignment is asking for. Let me see. Yeah, unfolding or side of view, ghosting it, or what it means. So by unfolding, like there are different ways of approaching this. I guess you can unfold it in many different ways. You can also play around with gravity, I'd say. That's why I mentioned the Monument Valley earlier. Kind of like this video game. You can, I guess, download it for your on your phone. This game kind of plays around with the perception of space and gravity. So this could be kind of like a good influence for you. Good starting point. One of the ways is to just unfold it on 4 different ways and have for example, the ceiling on top, or the ceiling could be here. For example, like imagine if you have your light fixture here, and like everything is just flat. Or here, like you can have like three walls while like exploding all the 3 parts. Or you can also do ghost views like here, but you have to do this in Illustrator. What you have to do usually, let me show you how to do this. Like just play. You just have to play around with the opacity. What do? You just make 2D. And we go to the top view, zoom select, and we export selected. Export selected. Save it into the desktop. You can see I'm really bad with naming, so save it here. Go open my Illustrator. Sometimes a file could be like really outside the box. Before I go into the ghosted version, I should mention that try to export your objects. Just bring them as close to the center point. Kind of like when you export it, the file is gonna be on the white page here. Sometimes if it's like really far away, if the object, for example, let's say if it's here, it's not gonna show up in your AI, and you'll be like, where did my object go? So what you want to do, you want to bring your object as close as possible to the center of your grid on Rhino. Okay, going back to the AI file. In the AI file, in this imaginary room in the center, I changed the page size. Put it in the center. Oh, you know what? I should have exported it with hidden lines to show. Then I'll go back here to show these lines at the back because we can't really see them, but it's good to have them as dotted lines, just like dash lines. So let me make 2D again. If you want to show the hidden lines, you just select it off here on make 2D. When you make 2D, just check it off here. Hit OK. And we go to the top view again. And there you go. You have your hidden line as dash lines on the back. And we just export that file. 34. The way that I usually zoom out on Illustrator, that might kind of be helpful for you. Just hold Control with the and then just drag it out. I'm gonna change the album size. Then I'm gonna put these on a different layer. They're actually on different layers right now, so that's perfect. What I want to do, I'm gonna go to Object, again, Live Paint, Make. Then I select, like let's say, black. And what you want to do, you want to change the opacity later. So if you go here, oh, why did I go here? On properties, change the opacity, let's say 6% or something. Then we turn on the hidden lines. Should give it a thickness. So what happened when you make live paint, sometimes it takes away the lines. That's why I usually copy it. Let me just copy it here. Make this. And, okay. And I can just change the opacity here. I select these lines. If you already have the lines, you can change the line weights. I turn on that file. I go to my chair. I, for example, bring on the chair, copy it. Into a new layer. Make a new layer. Just copy here. Change the scale. You have to hold Shift to scale it proportionally. I put it here, for example. I just have to play around with this. Where's the hidden line? Oh, is it showing? Oh, because there's no color to it. Oh yeah, I think I have to bring the color version. And you can kind of see through because there's no color. It's like see through right now. You can paint it white if you want. If you don't really want colors for your object. So as you see now, right, the hidden lines have disappeared. And yeah, that's mostly it for what I have prepared for you. Are there any questions? Do you want any help with your project? I can stick around for another 15 minutes or so. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention. You can also, in your isometric drawings, you can also do detailed drawings. I didn't really have time to do as details for you, the details here. But what you can show how the joints are connected, but you like kind of zooming in into parts of your furniture. So you can choose like what are like you can add material here. You can show how are the nails connected, or any other thing that comes in your mind. What is actually happening in the furniture. Yeah, that's mostly it for the Art 100 workshop.